Hello YouTube, it is EverythingEpan here, and in this video I'm going to be doing a video tutorial on how to install Windows 95 in Virtualbox. Now this may sound familiar to some other users that have watched my previous videos and they have seen me do Windows 95 videos previously. This is a updated video as new versions of Virtualbox have came out since the last time I have done a video on Windows 95, which was back all the way in 2017. So 5 years since I've done a Windows 95 video. So figured it'd be best to update that tutorial with the necessary files that we need and the necessary process to take to install Windows 95 in Virtualbox. So without further ado, let's go ahead and we'll get into this tutorial. First, the links that will be in the description, of course, Virtualbox will be in the description as always. You can download that if needed, and also other links such as the extension pack is on here if needed as well. The next link in the description will be the ISO file for Windows 95. This is for the latest, the OSR 2.5, and this actually does have Microsoft Plus in it as well, which I will show you how to install that later in the video here. So I can download that. This is off of WinWorld PC from the links here. The next link is going to be for the Windows 95 boot disk. This is needed to get the files from the ISO for the installation, since the ISO itself is not bootable. So this will be in the description as well. You will need this boot disk. It is a floppy disk that will be in the description. And then the last link in the description will be a link to a website here that is by Lone Crusader. And this is called Fix 95 CPU. This is needed during the installation so that you do not get a screen that will pop up, which I'll show you during the tutorial. This will fix bypassing that screen, since that it's had some issues with installing it on its own, and this group has implemented a fix for that. So that will be in the description as well, to be a zip file that you will download, which will contain the Fix 95 CPU ISO that we will need in this video. So those should be all the links you will need in the description. I may also post one in there as well where you can watch my video. I'll show you how to get the 256 colors on here as well. So I may throw that ISO in the description as well, since I'll show you quickly on how to do that as well in here. We'll just knock everything out in this whole video for you, just to get everything on there. So once you have everything that you need, you got all the downloads for this, we'll want to go ahead and open up Virtualbox, and then we'll want to create a new machine. You may have some on the left side here, you may not, but regardless, we'll go up to the new option up here to create a new virtual machine, and then we will just call this, in my case, I'm just going to call it Windows 95. You can call it whatever you want. It should automatically put the version as Windows 95, but just make sure it's selected as that if it does not do it automatically. And then save it wherever you'd like, or choose your directory for the machine folder save here. Hit next. It'll ask how much RAM you want to give it. Just leave it at the default of 64. There's been issues where if you put too much on it, it will not work, but I just leave it as is anyways. It runs quick enough just with the 64 that it requires. So hit next to confirm that. Then it will have us create the virtual hard disk here. So we'll hit create, and then you can select whichever file type you'd like. I'm just going to leave it at the default VDI and hit next, and then you can choose either dynamically allocated or fixed size. I'm just going to do top option there, since I normally do that as is. And then for the hard drive, I'm just going to leave it at the 2 gigs of default. You can experiment with expanding it if you'd like. I just usually leave it at 2 gigs, just so I don't have any further issues or have any conflicts with having a too big of a hard drive for this. So we'll just hit create to create the virtual hard drive, and it will create our virtual machine here. So we'll go to the bottom of the list if you do have a list of machines, or we'll be at the very top if it is the very first virtual machine you have made. So once we have the machine created, we will go ahead and hit settings, as we'll need to go to the storage tab here. And this will be where we insert the floppy disk, the boot disk that we downloaded, as well as the ISO. So on the floppy controller here, where we have this empty floppy, go ahead and hit the floppy emblem here. And then mine will be listed here, but just for purposes, you'll want to hit choose a disk file and then find wherever you have saved the image. It would be called, in this case, disk01.img, or img, excuse me. And so we'll go ahead and double click that. We'll add that into here. And then for the ISO, you'll go down to the disk where it says empty. And then we'll hit the disk up on the top right here, and we'll hit choose a disk file. And then you want to navigate where this has also been saved. This one will also be called disk01.iso for the download you'll have. So we'll open that up, and that will insert it into your virtual CD drive. So once those are in there, go ahead and hit OK to confirm, and those should insert, and then we will go ahead and start the virtual machine. And it will start up here, and it should come up and say starting Windows 95. We'll come up with this Windows 95 startup menu. We'll want to hit leave it on the top option to load the NEC IDE CD-ROM driver. We'll hit enter, and it will load it. And once it loads, the first step you will want to do here is you'll want to type out fdisk. This will bring up the prompts for the format disk, and asking us now if it wants to enable large disk support. I just usually hit Y to confirm to enable it as it is, and then just hit enter, and then leave it at the default choice of number 1 to create a DOS partition. Hit enter. Leave it at the default of the number 1 to hit primary DOS partition. Hit enter, and then hit enter once more, leaving it at Y, and then it will ask you to reboot. So you'll just want to go up to machine on the top left and hit reset. And it will do this again. And then you'll want to, of course, load the first option for that NEC IDE CD-ROM driver. And then once it loads up again, the next command we'll want to type in is format C:, and then it will come up with a warning prompt here. That all data on drive C will be lost, but there's nothing on there, so it does not matter. Hit Y or type Y and hit enter. It will format your drive, and then it will ask you what you want to name it. You can just hit enter to leave it blank, or type in whatever you'd like to have it set. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it blank. And then that part of it will be finished. And then the next part that what we need to do is we'll need to go into our C drive by typing in C:, and then we need to make a directory. We're going to actually copy the Windows 95 setup files over to the hard disk. So the command for that is going to be mkdir space win95, and I have win capitalized. Typically you should do that when we're creating this, since it matches the files from the setup disk. Then hit enter. It will create that directory. Then we'll want to navigate to that directory by typing in cd space win95. It will route us to the Windows 95 folder we created. And then to copy those files from the disk over to this path here that we're in, we're going to type the command of copy, and then D:, and then a \win95. Now, it should normally be D for the drive letter, but when you did notice at the very beginning, before typing in the commands, it'll tell you your drive letter for your CD-ROM. Normally it should be D. If it does differ, do type the letter here accordingly. That matches what it should be routed to, and then we'll hit enter. And then it's going to copy the files over. It'll say, in my case, 217 files copied. So now we can actually eject that disk. We will no longer need that. So we'll just remove it. And then to begin the setup process, we'll just type setup, hit enter, and then it will ask us to hit enter to run a scan check. And here we are into the first part of the graphical part of the setup. So should let you click in here and move the mouse around. We'll go ahead and hit continue to begin. It'll ask us to accept the license agreement. Just hit yes on that. It'll begin the setup wizard now. So we'll hit next to proceed. Hit next. And then we'll leave it at typical for the option here. Hit next, and then it's going to ask us to enter in the product key. So the one that I normally type in here, that usually works for me, is going to be 12095 000 4226 12233. So you can use that one, or if you by any chance have any different kind of a key you want to enter in, it shouldn't matter anyways, but you can use this and hit next. It's going to ask you to enter in a name and company. So I usually, just for the fun of it, I type in my own name and then I type in my channel name for the company. And then we'll hit next. It'll have you enter in a name by default as it is. These don't need to be checked. I do it anyways, but you don't have to check them because it doesn't actually install. I don't believe it actually even installs them to begin with, or it does, later on. But you can check them if you want. Shouldn't matter. Go ahead and hit next. It'll do a analyze here for the hardware. So it'll run through that progress here, and it'll take us to the next portion of the setup. And then also, while this is loading here, so when we get to the end of this part of the setup, I'll show you what message pops up if you do not use the fix 95 ISO, the fix that will need to bypass the error here. So again, it's just going to take, it can take a little bit of time for it to run through this analyze here, but eventually it should fully go through on the progress bar here. So I'm just going to go ahead and let it run through here, and we'll show you the next part of the setup. So looks like it is just about finished here on that. This will be one of the longer parts of this stage of the setup. And then once that completes that portion, it will have us just do the installation of most common components. So we'll leave it at that and hit next. We'll choose no for the startup disk and then hit next. It'll have us copy the files. We'll hit next, and this part should go relatively quickly. And so I'll have us proceed through on copying the files. And then once that is done, it'll have us come up to this finishing setup window. It'll ask us to reboot. So we will hit finish. It'll ask us to remove the floppy disk and any other disks in your drive. So we will go ahead and remove the virtual floppy down on the right here. If you right click and do remove, and then we'll hit OK. It will do a restart. And it'll come up with starting Windows 95. It'll come up with this. And if you do not do the fix 95, this message will come up. It will come up with a Windows protection error and ask to restart the computer. You will stay in this loop if you do not do this fix 95 next step here. So the ISO, we'll go ahead and insert that in here. We'll right click on the disk. We'll hit choose a disk file. You'll want to navigate where you have the fix 95 CPU.iso is saved, wherever you have that saved. Go ahead and insert that. And we'll do a reset of the machine. And then it should load up into this setup here. So we'll hit any key to continue. And then just hit N to not read the README file or open the README file. And then just hit any key, and it will install the fix 95 CPU. After that, you'll want to right click on the disk and remove it. And then we'll want to do another reset of the machine. And then if you come up with the startup menu, you can just go up and go to normal. And then now it should proceed with the setup. So it'll have us hit OK here, and it'll prompt us to name the computer and assign it to a work group. So I'm just going to call it Windows 95 for the computer name, and then for work group, normally you just type all capitalization work group here. And then hit close. It'll copy the files, and if a version conflict window pops up here, just hit yes on that. It'll finish copying those files. It'll bring us to the next portion of the setup where it'll go through all these items of control panel programs on the start menu, Windows help, MS-DOS program settings, and then it'll have us prompt to set our time zone here in just a moment and confirm the time. So it'll pop up with that window to confirm your time zone. You can select that as needed. Go ahead and hit apply and OK. And then a printer wizard will come up here. You can cancel out of that. And then it says setup has finished configuring. So we will hit OK to do another restart. And then it'll come up with the boot screen. It'll come up with the message of loading up here on that. And now it should bring us to the login screen here. So you can't bypass this just by hitting OK. You do need to type in a username. You can type in whatever you want. So I'll type in a username, hit enter, and then you don't even need a password too. If you hit enter again, it'll bypass that without you needing to set a password. And here we are at the desktop. So we have completed the main installation of actually getting Windows 95 installed. So we'll go through a couple of the extras for installing on here as well. So it'll go through a finalizing part of this here. This is for getting Internet Explorer on here, even though it will not work, unfortunately. So you can go ahead and just hit next and then select your country, hit next. It will do a little bit of an install here. And then once it gets to, it's actually going to get stuck towards the end here. It's going to be stuck right here at 78%, and it will not go any further even if you let it sit here for a few minutes. So on that, when it gets to the 78%, you can just go ahead and hit start, shut down, and then we'll do a restart. So it'll go ahead and reboot the machine, and will prompt us to the login screen. So we'll just hit OK, and then it'll finish up this setup. And we'll come up with, I believe, another window. Yep. So we'll finish a few more things here, then should bring us back to the desktop. It'll flash the new background and this little toolbar here as well. And you'll see that Internet Explorer is installed. And this is Internet Explorer version 4.0 that is included with this 95. Now, it also does get sound installed. Now, the sounds for like the startup and shutdown sounds do not seem to be working when I've tried it. Hopefully you may have better luck with that. But now we can go in here and since it is included with this ISO, I'll just show you quickly on how to add Microsoft Plus, the expansion pack, if you'd like to have it on here. So feel free, if you just wanted the main installation here, you can certainly tune out on that. But if you'd like to continue with some of these expansions, we will go ahead and get through with those here. So to do the installation of Microsoft Plus for Windows 95, we'll go into My Computer, we'll double click that, and then we'll go into the disk. For me, it's G. It might be something different here for you, but for me, the disk is G. We'll actually have to reinsert the ISO here too. So again, it may be on your quick menu here actually. So it'll be disk01.iso. Just make sure that's inserted, and there it'll load it back up, and we can double click into it. And then to install Plus, we'll go to the Plus folder, double click that. We'll scroll down to Setup and open that. And this will bring us to Microsoft Plus for Windows 95 setup. We'll hit continue. It'll ask to confirm name and organization. Just leave it at whatever you have it set at. Hit OK once more. It'll ask for a product ID. You can use that same exact one that I had entered in during the install. So again, that's 12095 000 4226 12233. We'll hit OK. It'll confirm that by hitting OK once more. It's going to search for the installed components. It'll ask us where to save it. Just leave it at the default, hit OK. And then it's going to ask to do a typical or a custom installation here. Normally here can just do typical. You can do custom to specify what you want installed. Well, for this case, we'll just do typical. It's going to come up with that drive space 3 will not be installed since the newer version is present. Just hit OK to confirm that. And then just hit either yes or no here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit no. It's going to go ahead and check for the disk space, and it's going to copy over the files. And we'll finalize up with that install here. And then once it does finish the install here, I think it will actually have you confirm if you do want to change your theme even for this. So we can do that accordingly here once this is all finished with copying the files and getting things installed for Microsoft Plus here. Okay, and we'll go ahead and hit OK here to proceed there, and it will now have us set up a desktop theme, so you can go in. You can leave it current if you want, if you don't want to change your theme. Just for the fun of it here, I'm going to go ahead and change it, and we'll just do the inside your computer option here. It'll say high color in parentheses because it will have, it is meant for the high color, the 256 color. So we'll hit apply. It's going to say that, you know, right now we don't have too many colors. Normally I just do all settings to apply it and hit OK. It's going to make the changes here. You can see the mouse cursor has actually changed, and the font has changed, and then also the window tab here, the color has changed on that. So it has applied my theme. We'll hit OK. And then it will be finished with the install, and then we should be good to restart Windows. Now, I believe sound should work here, so I'm not going to make sure to have it too loud. But when we restart, you should be able to hear the shutdown sound. You did hear a little sound there. So it'll do that. That theme's shutdown sound. You may differ if you pick a different theme. So it'll do a reset of the machine. You'll see that the background has changed. Everything really has changed with the theme here now. And then we'll hit OK. It'll log us in. It plays a startup sound for you. And now we have Microsoft Plus installed. And now the last thing on here is if you want to get 256 colors, I will have that ISO provided in the description. And you'll want to insert that by going to choose a disk file. And it should be a file called 256color.iso. So we'll open that, and then to get that installed, you'll want to hit Start, go to Settings, hit Control Panel. We're going to make the window bigger here, and then we'll want to double-click Display, and then go to Settings, then down here go to Advanced Properties. And then on the adapter tab here for the display properties, we'll want to hit Change. And then it's going to have us select the device. In case, we'll want to hit Have Disk. And then we'll hit Browse. And then it will have us select where to locate it here. So we'll want to change the drive to the CD drive. In my case, it is drive letter G. Might differ for you, but for me, it is G. So we'll hit the CD drive here. And then in here, you'll want to double click on VBE9X, double click on Uni, and then it should prompt that the VBEMP.inf file is in here. So once we have double clicked on Uni, you should hit OK. It'll apply that directory in there. Go ahead and hit OK, and it'll find the VBE Miniport graphics driver. Hit OK. It will implement that. So hit Apply, hit OK. If a run DLL message comes up, go ahead and just hit close on that. And then if an error comes, just hit close. And that should be good to go here. And then if you right click on the desktop here, go to Properties, it won't pop up right away to actually change the resolution and the colors. So we'll want to do a restart. by going start, shut down, restart. It'll play your shutdown sound, and it'll do a reboot of the machine. And then we'll do a restart here. Sometimes if it does get hung up like this, I have had this happen before. If it does get hung up, you can just go to machine and do a reset. And you can also remove the disk once that's done as well. It'll come up with this again. Just go up to normal. And it will load it back up. Log in. And then to make sure the colors are set correctly, you can go down into here, hit 256 color, and then we're going to bump up the resolution a little bit too. It's going to ask us to specify a monitor. Go ahead and hit yes on that. And then normally I just hit plug and play monitor here. Go ahead and hit OK. It'll ask us to do a reboot. So we'll restart. And sometimes this comes up too. You'll get a guru meditation error, and it will actually completely close the machine sometimes when you do make a change on the graphics. So if that does that, just hit OK. It'll close it out, and then just restart the machine by hitting start. It'll start up your machine. Again, if this startup menu comes up, just go up to normal. You do see on that small boot up screen too, it does have the plus icon there as well. And so you may get some errors here that it won't implement the colors and everything. So definitely can just depend. You can do some messing around with that. But that will at least give you the ability to change it to 256 colors. You know, there's different settings and things you would need to make sure to mess around with the change. I just did another reboot here when it did not load properly. And now, there we go. Looks like it has changed it to 256 colors here. So, with that all being said now, looks like that's got everything good here with the colors. That's the last part of the expansion and the complete installation here of Windows 95 in VirtualBox. I know this was a longer tutorial than normally that I do here, but figured I'd give you guys the opportunity to follow along for any of the expansions you guys wanted to put on with the included ISO, and then also getting the 256 colors for this. So if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like down below. If you have any ideas for any future videos, be sure to leave a comment as well, or if you have any questions or any feedback on the video as well. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, certainly can do so down below by hitting subscribe and hitting the bell notification to be notified when I upload a video. So again, this will conclude my updated video tutorial on how to install Windows 95 in VirtualBox. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe if you have not done so, and leave a comment down below for any future video ideas. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.